Siafu by Gary Adams and Mia Rheinhardt. Chapter 1. Max Ryder climbs to the top of a ridge at Shimba Hills National Reserve, 33 kilometers from Mombasa, when he notices a sharp glimmer through the canopy. He is completely mesmerized by what he sees and has a feeling he has never experienced before. He thinks it could be diamonds or some other treasure yet to be discovered. His mind is fixed on the idea of riches. He works out the location and marks it on his portable GPS. He notes that it is 500 meters away as he begins walking down the other side of the ridge. He reaches the spot where he believes he has found his treasure and he feels a sense of anticipation. He notices the entrance to the cave nearby, its entrance large and foreboding. He feels that this is where he will make his fortune. He enters the cave feeling the cool, moist air through his short-sleeved white button-up shirt. His eyes focus on the beautiful sight in front of him. It's a large diamond vein, completely untapped. He can't contain himself. "I'm going to be so fucking rich!" he yells, his words echoing throughout the cave. He is excited, happy, and thankful. He notices a dark shadow pass in the corner of his eye, however, causing him to startle slightly. He turns around and realizes that he is not alone. What he sees next will change his life forever. Standing before him is a giant Siafu ant, about 2 meters tall, its hard black exoskeleton glistening slightly like the diamonds he has just seen. He stands there frozen in horror as the Siafu ant clicks its mandibles a few times, raises its antennae a little, and scurries deeper into the cave. "I've got to get out of here," Max thinks as he rushes headlong for the cave's entrance. He makes it through the cave entrance just in time. He ponders what he just saw for a moment and quickly clears it from his mind, wiping the moisture from the cave from his brow and running his hands through his short blonde hair. He wipes his brow again and looks around at the dark cave, its surroundings illuminated by a small flashlight. He knows it's too late to make camp, and he wants to get as far away from the cave as possible. So he quickly looks around for an exit and notices a ledge at the back of the cave. He dashes for the ledge, jumping off, falling about 5 meters into the shallow pool below, and feels the water from Sheldrick's Falls rush over him as he falls. He wakes up with a start and sees it's dark outside, but a sliver of light is slowly beginning to seep through the cracks in the cave wall. He has a throbbing headache from the fall and realizes he needs to get out of there before tourists or park rangers show up, but he struggles to think. Suddenly he hears the scurrying of footsteps, and he quickly ducks behind a rock. He peeks out expecting to see another Siafu, but instead beholds a group of 3 teenagers in bathing suits, 2 girls and 1 boy. He backs away slowly and stealthily makes his way back to the ridge. He climbs back up the ridge and sees another cave that looks promising. He thinks it might hold another untapped diamond vein, but wonders why no one has discovered any of these untapped riches. He then thinks back to what he saw in the cave and shudders after marking the second cave on his GPS. He then turns his attention to the scurrying sounds he heard from behind the rock. Max is 32, but he is a man and can't help thinking about the sight of the 2 teenage girls in their bikinis. He then notices that his heart is pounding and he's breathing heavily. He wipes the thought from his mind, realizing he has work to do, and pulls up the location of his used Toyota Prado on his GPS and heads down the other side of the ridge toward it. Max now has a new GPS device that is half the size of his last one. With advances in microprocessing, it allows him to carry lighter gear on jungle treks. He appreciates this fact as he continues on toward the Prado. The 4 burros can be seen dragging a tarp behind them, with an empty water bottle rolling across the rocks. Max wonders why the donkeys are unattended and thinks some poor sod must have bought it out in the jungle as he moves closer. He sees a boulder that is lodged against the cave. What he saw the previous day flashes through his mind, and he decides to continue towards the Toyota Prado rather than risk investigating after marking the 3rd cave on his GPS. He spots a set of footprints that lead to the boulder. He realizes the boulder must have been moved, and the pieces slowly click into place in his mind as he rushes for his vehicle. A couple of burros appear and start to graze near the boulder. Max briefly looks back just in time to see the boulder move and the donkeys disappear in the cave as if being sucked inside by a vacuum. He thinks he's hallucinating as he looks down at the rock. It seems to be moving a little as it vibrates against the ground, but Max doesn't have time to wonder about this and arrives at the Toyota, stripping off the branches he has used to conceal it as quickly as possible and climbing into the driver's seat. He stops in a daze as he looks at the boulder. He really thinks he's lost it now as he witnesses a stream of human-sized Siafu pouring forth from the cave, the boulder casually moved to the side as if it were a child moving a toy ball. He feels like his mind is going to snap. "Fuck this shit!" he shouts as he cranks the Prado, releasing the parking brake, depressing the clutch, throwing it in third gear, releasing the clutch, and gunning the engine rapidly, cycling through the other gears. He speeds down the path but realizes he can't see anything in front of him. He slows down a bit, breathing heavily, sweat soaking his hair and shirt. He looks back and sees the boulders blocking his way. He drives up to the boulders, still breathing heavily, and places the Toyota in neutral as he engages the parking brake. He then ditches the vehicle, leaving it running, making his way through the bush around the boulders. He reaches the boulders, which are now less than 10 feet away from him. A heavy feeling develops in the pit of his stomach as he comes to the realization that there's no way around. He attempts to climb over the boulders. He then realizes that the rocks are just too far apart. He remembers the rope and climbing gear back in the Prado and quickly heads back. He returns to the boulders and successfully climbs over them. If you enjoyed this reading of Chapter 1 of my book, Siafu, then leave a like or subscribe to let me know that you liked it. Just a like is required, really. And that way I'll know that I should keep writing this book. Thanks very much for listening.